weeks ago on his government's economic and social transformation over the next 5 years. And it's very important for us to understand, like as is happening, as will be described by every sector, it's very important for us to understand what is the direction in which we're going. We came to you, we came to seek your vote, we came with a mandate, we came with a manifesto. And in that manifesto would have outlined a number of commitments. And that was further addressed by our President, Dr. Mohamed Irfan Ali. So I wish today to speak a little for over the next few minutes, a little in terms of the housing sector and what is envisaged under the housing program. The housing program, you'll recognize, continues to remain a pillar of economic empowerment, and this has always been so under every People's Progressive Party civic government. The housing program is a priority. We recognize that to our people out there, a mandate to ensure that we are able, as quickly as possible, to advance our citizens towards home ownership. And what are some of the things that one can expect over these coming 5 years? Recognizing what we have started over the last period, and that is, I refer to the 2020 to 2025 period, just before elections, that is. And you'll recognize a lot was achieved, and that was coming from a period when little was done in the housing program, little allocations, minimal allocations, zero infrastructure work for communities, little processing of titles, etc. But we have broadened much further than that in terms of what is our mandate ahead. So for one of the things that we've said that we'll ensure to happen here, that is to work to clear our backlog in the system. What I refer here to, these are pending applicants that are in the system and that are awaiting an allocation. Over the last period, we would have allocated over 53,000. But yet, if you go back into our list of pending applicants, we have over 78,000 pending applicants as I speak. The largest block, however, continues to remain Region 4, and you'll understand, you'll recognize, mainly because of the concentration of where the majority of the population live, and then previously seeking in Region 4 and proximity of economic opportunity for employment, etc. So that's where our largest volume. So we are committing, therefore, that we will clear the backlog for all of the regions, except we'll be unable to do complete for Region 4. But that must be taken into context that of the 78,000 plus pending applicants, over 52,000 are from the Region 4 bracket. And so you'll recognize, as I just said, the largest volume of applicants are in Region 4. But nevertheless, we are continuously working to find land, to engage with our partners in terms of Guyana Lands and Survey Commission, NISIL, Gaisuco, in Region 5 case, for example, MMA, to be able to acquire additional lands to address these backlogs. So we are committing, yes. If you're living in the other regions, 100% we'll clear those backlogs. In Region 4, as I said, we'll work to minimize as much as possible. Now, in addition to the clearing of the backlog, you will have also a new commitment, a commitment that focuses on construction of houses. And we have built houses. We've always built houses. But it is intended to build at least a minimum of 40,000 during this period. That therefore means on average we're speaking about 8,000 houses annually. And take that commitment into context, where over the last period, using our local contractors and our normal way of traditional way of building houses, we have only achieved over 4,000 plus. This time we went out for expression of interest. We received over 268 responses of persons or companies expressing interest for the construction of what is called modular houses. So in that way we can have volume, and we also have the various sizes. So for example, we're catering for whether it's low income, we're talking about 650 square footage. We have the moderate, we have middle, we have high income, what is normally called the young professionals. And believe it or not, the demand for young professionals have increased over these last few years, and that is a testimony of the availability of more disposable income, or the ability of persons earning more. So certainly they want a higher level or category of house. Now, construction of houses also not only satisfies our demand, because more and more persons are requesting houses, and there are various reasons. As persons become professionals and as they work and they're busy lifestyle in terms of having to earn, the hassle of dealing with contractors to be able to move around, to buy materials, to build, they are seeking government to cushion that. And what we have now is a huge demand of persons who are coming through these doors and are seeking what they normally call turnkey houses, as versus just the allocations. And we want to respond to that, because the demand, as I said, with persons preferring more homes, as a responsible government, we have that mandate to respond to increasing requests or to revise our work program in keeping with what the electorate are seeking. And so in those houses, one can expect in 2026, starting in 2026, we have identified some of the areas for the construction of those houses. So the engagement with the responses on the EOI, that will commence. And as I said, there are over 268 responses that came in from that expression of interest for construction of houses. And in addition to responding, as I said, for a need, it's also an economic benefit for everyone, for the country. Once you have construction, then you have various sectors and individuals and companies that benefits. And already the construction sector has taken up a large volume of the workforce. In fact, we still have a demand for skilled workers for the construction sector. And I am yet to find anyone who is a very skilled carpenter, mason, plumber, or even electrician that is unable, if they go to any one of the construction sites that you see where we have houses being constructed, that they can say that they have been unable to gain employment. And so certainly this is an opportunity too for more training in this area to respond on what is expected, even as we started a further injection of construction on houses. We've also spoken in terms of home ownership, and I'm speaking here now in this category what I would consider economic empowerment, whether through housing, through home ownership. So we've spoken about empowerment of through home ownership by clearing our backlog, that is to allocate, to give persons an opportunity to have their own land, to have their own space, to have that area that they can call their own, and for their children, as well as for the next generations to come, security of tenure. In addition, I've spoken about the construction of houses. I also want to therefore speak about a further, beyond land allocation, to speak towards title, issuance of certificate of titles, and in some cases, transports. That will continue to be a major shift in terms of our mandate. And that is also ensuring that persons have, as I said, security of tenure, do not have to deal when we allocate and when we provide that space and you get that document, then it signals for someone to be able to use their document to move on as collateral. They can either further seek loan for financing on expansion of their home or building of their home. They can use that as collateral for an opportunity to invest in their own business or to expand on their business. So there are various things that you can do once you have that document, certificate of title or transport, as I said. I want to interject here to use the opportunity to say, though, that I know sometimes when we have exercises or constantly on our social media and other means, persons from time to time will be inquiring about their awaiting their title. And it's not a case that we have not been aggressively addressing this. In fact, over the last period, we have processed over 25,000 certificate of titles or transports. Let me repeat that. Over the last 5 years, we have processed over 25,000 certificate of titles or transports. That will tell you, therefore, that there's an aggressive program, and I want to acknowledge the role by the Land Registry and the Deeds Registry. And so, our listeners, you therefore understand that sometimes or many times when you say that you're awaiting your title, it is not necessarily it's being stuck at the Ministry of Housing or Central Housing and Planning Authority. It's a case where it's going through a process. And we are facilitating that process. We're the agency through which it's being processed, but that is also done in collaboration with the registry. And the registry themselves also have huge volume. They have governments or central housing titles to process. They also have private owners. They have general businesses in the population out there who are conducting business in terms of their title or transport. So they have a large volume too. And so sometimes that's why when we have that period of waiting, it's very often because they have a lot to be processed. But we are aggressively addressing that, and we want to be able to issue more titles in this period to, as quickly as possible, provide ownership for persons for their land. The titles, therefore, will continue to see, because even in some of the areas we have allocated, you'll find that you'll be hearing or seeing us periodically publishing names and asking persons to come in to complete their payment and to be able to uplift their certificate of title. So as part of our home ownership, we also want to ensure that we have community development and access to service. The budget there of from the budget commencing from budget 2026, one can see another initiative or program that speaks towards direct financial assistance for home construction and home upgrades. We have already started this initiative. In the last period, for example, you'll recall we have the steel and cement program that we initiated. And that was something that was announced by President Ali, whereby it was to initiate for persons who want to commence construction, and there was an application process. You had to be whereby you did not have any construction conducted as yet, and then that made you eligible to be able to apply for the steel and cement initiative. So no doubt one can continue to see much more on this initiative. But in addition to that, I want to say that on the steel and cement program, for example, we have over the last 2 years, 2 to 3 years max, we have disbursed on the steel and cement initiative, we have disbursed over $750 million. Over $750 million we disbursed. And so therefore, commencing, as I said, in the next budget, will see initiatives that target, and this came out, of course, from requests from yourselves, where many times we're visiting the communities and we're there on issuing of new document for allocation or persons for who are completing or have completed their home and we are signaling their ownership, where you said, hey, I'm my ability, I just need a little assistance. I am unable to complete my home, or maybe I need an assistance to build the step, complete the windows, complete a wall, assistance maybe to change the roof, leaking roof. And that will be determined by your ability. Of course, we conduct assessment, we investigate these things. So the criteria will be obviously be set out. But you will find an aggressive program towards ensuring we assist persons for home upgrade, assist persons for completion or their home construction. That will be done in a major way commencing from the next budget. And we're very happy for this because we have been receiving a lot of requests. In fact, some of which have been channeled through Men on Mission and Men on Mission. And Men on Mission, they also conduct their own assessment of persons' scenario or their situation that they may have. And they're assessing their inability to be able to provide resources to complete their home. You'll also find moving forward as part of our vision of the next 5 years, we'll therefore seek a focus on youth. Now, interestingly, I want to refer back to what we have accomplished. What we have accomplished over the last 5 years in those allocations, it's an interesting scenario whereby for young people, and here I speak towards persons who are under 35 and under, the percentage of allocations that were done for young people who were under 35, it's 54%. 54% of the allocations that were done in the last period were to youth. And we're happy about that because it also signals, therefore, that the opportunity exists in prime when period like persons like myself and before when we were coming up. The aspiration of owning your home at a young age was not there. In fact, you lived, many years in your parents' home or you're renting, and because unable to cope with being able to have pay your expenses and be able to acquire a mortgage, or from lack of responses from the home for allocations or for home ownership, lack of responses would have seen persons losing hope. And that is why in the last period, while we allocated over 50,000 houses, 50,000 house lots, you still had a heavy demand of persons every day who are eligible coming in to apply for a house lot. Then we also want to have a focus on women, single mothers, for example. I want to give another statistic that will let you understand the direction in where our country is going. The allocations to women alone, to females, of that 53,000 was over 43% of the allocations. That, and based on our analysis of the applicants that are coming in, majority are females. It signals, therefore, empowerment of our women. It signals that our women are taking up much more space or opportunities in our country. They're earning on their own, and as part of earning on their own, it allows them to be able to manage their affairs on their own. So as a result, we have already started an initiative, and you will see more support for, as I said, young people, single mothers now, a focus on single mothers, women. We have started a homestead program. So in the next period, we'll see the expansion of our homestead project. And we have already started similar at Yarra Cabra. At Yarra Cabra, right now, we have the ongoing construction of over in the initial phase of over 250 houses. In fact, 25 are complete. Another 50 is being handed over within another 2 weeks. And that means, therefore, we'll have 75 completed homestead houses in the new month. In January, we will be engaging with, we have already received a number of interests, but we'll be formally engaging with the persons who have applied for the homestead program. And this year, as I said, is on the highway. And we are looking forward to this project as an expansion because it has a variable as part of the homestead is the houses as well as the shade houses program. And what we're looking at for the shade house is an economic opportunity for a single mom to be able to earn an additional, to pay for their mortgage, to pay for their loan, to be able to acquire an additional resource. So you work in the day or whatever, and then on the side you can be able to come and you will take care of your shade house program to earn a little more and to be able to be self-sufficient. So therefore, also in addition to the homestead project, as I said, you'll see an expansion and a focus. We also have the hinterland. Hinterland is not left behind. The entire country is part of our home housing program. And we have already, as part of our hinterland program, over the last period, we constructed over 400 houses in regions 1, 7, 8, and 9. One will see, therefore, the expansion of the hinterland housing program that will have a mirror on what we are going to be doing on the coastline, and we already are doing this, and that is for support with materials in terms of for persons to assist in the hinterland, as well as the construction of houses in the hinterland. As part of the financial support, so those that I just outlined would be the broad parameters on which we're seeking empowerment through housing and home ownership. So I want to repeat them. Back allocations, construction of houses, processing of titles or transport for ownership, community development, access to services, the seeking support for home construction and home upgrades, so direct financial assistance to do this, as focus on youth or single mothers, hinterland families, and that's by and large the expansion of the homestead project. I want to then move on to another focus that will see a quality of life and sustainability in communities. And I speak here of a focus on building safe, clean, well-lit communities. Let me repeat. Safe communities, clean communities, well-lit communities with proper drainage, and has been outlined by the President to have reduced noise pollution. And by saying well-lit, we are referring to the addition of street lamps. And so one can find whether through with Ministry of Housing with our new schemes, or whether through the Ministry of Local Government or the regional arms, one can find the communities as we are able to supply more on energy, as the gas to shore energy comes on stream and as more availability of power. And that we will all be benefiting from that, by the way, when it comes to fruition. That is the reduction of our electricity on the coastline here by 50%. And therefore, when we speak about communities whereby we want to have developed communities, we're talking about the drainage. We have a massive program that we have already started as part of the Georgetown Revitalization Plan. I'm happy to be part of a steering committee that has been, stakeholders committee has been set up by His Excellency President Ali. And we've started with Georgetown examining the drainage network and looking at what we can do to enhance. And this will move on to other parts of our country. So this is not just a Georgetown program, but it will mirror similarly in other areas whereby you'll have proper drainage, concrete drainage, etc., to ensure that the water flows, well-kept carpets, well-lit streets. The parapets also cleared of debris and vehicles, derelict vehicles. One can see green spaces in a functional recreational facility in every community. One can look forward to the addition to under the Ministry for Responsibility with Utilities, more clean water and sanitation with Ministry of Local Government. When we talk about what a community should look like, we'll also see enhanced social services, modern economic and social services to provide access to our citizens, and as I mentioned, to drainage and roads. I know many of our communities have been asking for enhanced roads. We have already started it. Every community can see the benefit of a proper road network. And so in addition to the green space, we'll also have, as part of our design, investment for commercial activities, and as well as enhancement of markets through the Ministry of Local Government. So we're looking forward, therefore, to be part of ensuring that we can have a better quality of life for persons who are living in the communities, whether in our housing schemes, whether in the older areas or whether in the ones to come. One can be rest assured that will be part of what you can look forward in our mandate moving forward over the next period. Infrastructure under the Ministry of Housing will continue to play a great role. By infrastructure, I mean generally in two regards here. We have for the infrastructure works for the communities in which we have allocated. So we have, for example, in the last period, we would have commenced, or we would have completed the first phase infrastructure and commenced over 110 areas. And one can therefore see much more happening in this coming period, because as to be able to fulfill our mandate for those allocations, to whether it's for the land, whether for the building of the houses, whether for other commercial purposes, one will require new areas to be developed. And the infrastructure work that is required for us, what we're looking at, will mean these are virgin lands that has zero infrastructure work, that we have to develop the drainage, we have to develop the road network, we have to ensure that the utilities are catered for, so the pipe networks are already run in those schemes. And these are going to be part of our infrastructure development. Infrastructure, as you will recognize, is part of the backbone of economic expansion. As I alluded to earlier, when we have, whether construction of homes or whether for the infrastructure for the areas, for the development of the new housing areas, everyone benefits. The transportation sector, the hardware supply, the aggregate suppliers, the people who are even selling snacks or meals to the workers who are working in these construction sites, the opportunities for employment for, as I said, for persons within this sector, everyone benefits. So the economic spill-off in every region will be felt through infrastructure development under the housing program. And of course, when we talk about infrastructure, we also have to talk about the construction of further road networks, the opening up of new areas as a result of construction. In the infrastructure development, we already seen in the last period where a number of highways that has reduced the travel time within regions. The development of the highway that is currently to Craig, we already have ongoing from Craig to Land of Canaan. And so what can we look forward in the upcoming period, for example, over these next 5 years? As I alluded to, we have the ongoing or the completion of the Craig to Crane, that is already ongoing. Then one can see for the continuation from Land of Canaan all the way to Sue's Dyke. That design is already in progress. We're talking about maybe about 50 kilometers more of road network. One will be able to see already a continuation from Schooner to Parika. The bridge is already being done on the Ministry of Public Works. We have tendered for the schooner to Parica, for which is now open. So that will next have to go through the evaluation phase. So in 2026, therefore, we can speak of the commencement of the schooner to Parica 4-lane highway. We also have the schooner to Wales. The alignment is ongoing. Then we have on the larger picture the continuation from Wales to Sand Hills. That alignment is ongoing. Wales, by the way, for Region 3 will be a major economic hub, not only for allocations, but you are aware by now the Gas to Shore project, the first landing will be at Wales, but then you also would have heard about investments in terms of the Wales as part of the Wales development for the energy sector and for power. That will be a major hub, but under the housing program too, Wales will be expanded. Then we also have, from Parica as part of the continuation, the Parica to Goshen Road. The Parica to Goshen then will complete, therefore, if you're traveling, let's say you're coming from Letem, you'll travel from onwards 9, traveling through 10. You can even come through Bartica and connect to Region 3, or you can come the other way. So the opening up of highways one can certainly look forward to this continuation. And with that opening up of highways, as I said, will mean access to lands. And then there's a major one that will be within under 2 weeks you will see being advertised. That is a road that connects from Lenora on the west coast of Demerara to West Bank, coming out at Canal Number 1. A journey that, when you have to go all the way around to Vida Hoop, will take you about maybe 8 minutes when that road is complete. And so we look forward to that, and to persons, whether they're coming from Region 2, 1, 7, etc., because they have to pass through Region 3, we'll look forward to the construction of that road. So the highways, as I said, will be part of our economic growth, seeing part of economic growth, the infrastructure for the works to be done on those highways. Thousands of roads to be upgraded, whether on the coastland, the urban, and the hinterland. One can look forward to continue investment over this period. So there's a lot to look forward to in the housing sector as a result of construction. I want to quickly come to you've heard about this before, but as part of the next period, in this period, one can look forward when we talk about the smart city and innovation. And I'm talking about Silica City. Workers already, you've heard about it, but there's tangible work that is ongoing at Silica City. We have, for example, a number of houses that are already complete. And so we have already allocated. We have persons who have signed their agreement, and that can signal that they can use that to go on to be able to, as part of acquiring a mortgage. So on Silica City, as I said, we have completed a number of houses. On the first phase, it would have catered for over 290 lots. Then we have a phase 2 development that is going to be coming, you can expect to see. That will cater for over 374 lots. That will have various aspects of construction. And here too, you would have heard the opportunity for the diaspora investment that His Excellency spoke about. That will be able to be done under the phase 2 development. But we already went out as part of Silica City. We would have already went out for expression of interest. We would have just closed for the development of 20 acres for a retirement home. And this is part of our phase 2 development. That expression of interest was for design, finance, build and operate. And as I said, the expression of interest, the period has just closed. And so we have a number of persons who have responded, and so now the team will move forward to be able to evaluate those expression of interest. Another expression of interest that we went out for is the healthcare hub, and that is for development of 80 acres. They have the expression catered for design, finance, and build, operate. And similarly, like the retirement home, the period has just concluded. So now they will go through the evaluation phase for the expression of interest that would have received. And then we also have ongoing the development for the aspect of sports tourism. That is something too that is catered for on the Silica City. So the Silica City, which we are developing as part of the master plan. The master plan, as you're aware, is already developed. That was presented by His Excellency President Ali in conjunction with work being done by University of Miami. We're talking about in the first phase of the massive rollout for the Silica City, which is over 3,000 acres of land being developed on the highway. And so one can look forward in a massive way to see investment happening on the Silica City, and certainly all as Guyanese, we all can benefit. I want to just, in these few minutes, just conclude with two major points, and that is in the housing program. As I highlighted earlier, because sometimes when persons are listening in the hinterland, they say, what about us in the housing? And as I alluded, how hinterland development, they can feel an inclusion, because we are dedicated as a government to support hinterland families with their home, with their expansion, with their upgrade, to ensure that not just for coastland, that the hinterland will feel that they too can have ownership, that they have dignity, they have an improved living of standards. So therefore, across all regions, one can find when you're in the hinterland, improvement for your roads, improvement for your air access, improvement for your road connectivity, and therefore meaning no region will be left behind under this People's Progressive Party civic government. So Vision 2030, for Vision to 2030, therefore means that we can look forward to a resilient and efficient and inclusive and housing expanded networking in this coming period, which therefore means a strong focus on economic growth, for expansion. We're talking here about addressing a social need, so therefore it means a social equity. It doesn't matter your category, whether you're low, moderate, middle, or high income. Therefore, we're speaking here of a national pride, being part of the development of Guyana, being part of owning your own space in your country that you call your country of birth, that you call Guyana. Infrastructure and housing, therefore, will be part of the foundation to ensure that that can be accomplished, where we're sharing ownership as citizens of our country. So we look forward, therefore, to work with all of our citizens, relevant persons who may have in the business, in the housing sector. And you'll also see the transformation that is going to be happening in the housing sector as per what is happening in the government's rollout of government's efficiency and effectiveness of providing a service. The Ministry of Housing, Central Housing and Planning Authority will be no different. So already we have started work of how we can improve and enhance the efficiency, ensuring that we reduce the amount of paperwork that is involved, making the application process, making the way of doing business with the Ministry of Housing much easier. And then we also have, do not forget, the single window system that we have introduced. And we recognize that we did have some bottlenecks in terms of, not in terms of the implementation, some bottlenecks, well, not in terms of rolling out the program, but in terms of the application by users of the system. We have done among aggressive work over the last few months. So one can therefore see a fully functional and working the way as it should. And that is on the single window for construction, whether you're for single families, whether you're for commercial, whether you're for industrial, whether if you want to go up and you're building high-rise buildings, etc. One can find that the single window system will be working much more efficiently and effectively. We have strengthened that department, and we've already also worked with the local authorities to ensure that you can have an arm of being able to have your services addressed. So what do I mean? You don't have to come to Ministry of Housing to make your application. You can do so at our regional offices, as well as you can utilize, if you don't have access to the internet, you should be able to do that at the local authority offices. So I want to say thank you very much. We've had a very productive 2025. We've come out through a period around the middle to the third quarter of an electoral period. We want to thank you for providing us the opportunity, the mandate to be back here again to serve you. And we look forward to doing this even more in this upcoming period here, moving on from 2026 to 2031, 2026 to 2031, as you have given us another 5-year mandate. And I'm happy to be part of this team here at the Ministry of Housing, serving our dynamic leader, our youthful leader, our visionary leader, Dr. Mohammed Irfan Ali, and the People's Progressive Party civic government. Have a blessed rest of the day, and certainly as we look forward to 2026 and onwards. Thank you very much.